Got about a 120 approximately. Sandpaper, and just flatten it off. Just take any of the rough bits and bobs on there. You don't have to sand it right down to get rid of the patterns on, I think. Just right, so started with the colouring. This is an acid stone watered down 4:1, and it's a dark chestnut, I believe. So this is the company that I use. It's called Multi-Crete Products Limited, and this one's chestnut brown. You don't want to make it too strong because otherwise it will just ruin the whole thing, and it's very difficult. Once it goes really dark, it's hard to get it back. So I diluted this about 5:1. So here's the stain. Put it somewhere where it's not going to get, knocked over or whatever. But one of the most important things is to wet the surface. Wet the surface all over first before you start brushing it on, and make sure that you haven't got too much in the brush, and then just brush it everywhere. Right, what I'm doing now is I've mixed, well, not mixed, but I've just got some neat. I've got some neat chestnut brown and a very small fine paintbrush, and I just went around the knots, and here and there, just a little piece here and there, not too much. Okay, just to create a contrast around the knots. That sets a base before, the watered down black and brown goes in there. And then I've started going around the edge. So I've gone around the edge here, and I've also very gently just dribbled a little bit. Quite literally just put some on your brush, like so. And then you quite literally just dribble it in. Just allow it to just drop in. Remembering all of this is still quite wet, so that it don't go patchy. You don't want to do this on a dry surface. Then I've gone around the outside edge because that obviously indicates the line of bark. And then just a little bit of hit and miss. Don't want to do it all over. Leave a little bit of the white cement showing. Okay, you don't want it to be too much, because if you change this colour around the edge too much, it won't look weathered and it won't look authentic. It'll look like Disneyland, and that's not what you want. You don't want it to look like Disneyland. That's kind of mass-produced crap, really. So we want this to look as close to the real thing as possible, really. That's the idea of doing this. Okay, here and there it's going to be a little bit darker, but you know, you just have to sort of, as you go, probably wants a little bit of water on this outside. It's gone dry. I don't want it to end up too patchy. You want it a little bit hit and miss like that. Okay, so it's starting to come together. Let's just finish that little edge off here. A little bit of hit and miss, like so. Don't go and try and change the whole colour, because this eventually is going to be a little bit dry brushing over the top of this to give it that old drift look, greyish kind of appearance. So far, oh, don't forget, you know what I'm going to say? Subscribe, because I am going to be making some more interesting stuff, especially to answer a lot of the questions that many of my guests often say. How did you do this? How did you make that? How did you create that? So rather than try and explain to them, it'd probably be easier for me to make some videos and show you. Okay, so it's starting to come together, is that right? Okay, so we're going to put the top coat on now, or the second to last top coat really, and that is we want a nice contrast now in all of the fine details, in all of the cracks all around. We have got a little bit of detail in there from that base coat of acid stain. So we're now going to contrast it with a bit of very dark brown with a little bit of black mixed in, and we're gonna quite literally mix it down really thin. We don't want it to be like paint. We want it to be like a dirty water, really, like a tea. So we're going to mix a very small amount of these. Okay, and go from there. To get a bit of black on that sponge, a little bit more. So we don't want this paint black, we want it very dark brown, because it's going to go into the cracks and crevices and create a contrast. But obviously we want it thin enough so that it only really finds its way into the cracks, and that we can wipe it off with a damp cloth like that. Right, so we'll chuck a bit of water on this, just damp it down. This is going to be used to mop it off. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. So all in the crevices. It's a little bit scary because you think that you're kind of ruining it, going all over it. So you literally dab it in every little crevice that you can see, and make sure it's all worked right in there. Okay. Make sure you get it in all of the little gaps and cracks and everything. And then just do one little area at a time, like so. Fingers crossed. There we go, that's the start of the aged look. Pretty good. Now of course it's going to be a little bit darker because it's wet. Okay, so just a little bit of watered down black and brown, and that's the effect that you get so far. And it's starting to look realistic, isn't it? So I'm going to turn it upside down, and I'm going to do that underside. Get that out of the way with. Right, so let's give this a little splash over. So, anything that's been missed under here. Good, that can go up the other way now. Right, so I've gone a little bit darker this time, just a tad, and not quite so thin. Okay, so here goes. Yeah, it's all good. Okay. Right, let's see, shall we? Just going to dab it to start with, because I don't want to take too much off. Yeah, I think we're going to need a bit of black around this edge, because it does tend to be a lot of black in the crevice of bark. I may even put a little bit more of that neat dark chestnut around some of this edge, because it's not so dark there. Around the back here, actually quite nice. I think I'm going to do a close-up so you can see it. So you can see this round here, it's just a little bit nice, a bit more of a contrast with this colour. It's a little bit there, and then it's kind of missing, and then it starts coming back here. I just think it just looks a little bit nicer, a little bit more authentic, doesn't it? Okay. But hey, it's I might put a few little highlights of the chestnut, because it will still affect the cement underneath. And then, like I say, perhaps just a few little highlights, a little wash coat of black around this edge. And that will just add a little bit more to the effect. It kind of looks like an old slab of wood, doesn't it? Of course, we've got a little shimmer of grey, shimmy, just to give it the final. Right, we're going for a risk now, a little risky one. Bit of watered down black, so I just chucked a bit of black in with that brown. Added a little bit more water, a bit more black, so it's now very dark, very dark. It's almost black, so it's like black with a hint of brown in it, I suppose. So now I'm going to go back down the bottom here. Let's make sure you can see, and I'm going to let's make sure my camera's not going to fall off. Let's give it a go. So I'm not going to take any chances. I'm going to just try it on one of those knots. That one there. I'm going to try it on that knot, wipe it straight off just to test it. Cloth ready. Paint ready. Right. That is a very watered down black. Wipe it off. Yes, exactly what you need. Okay. It's pretty cool, right? It looks like my battery's going low on my phone. It's a bit of a nuisance. So I might just chuck a bit of charge in and come back. Okay. Right, so you haven't missed much. I've just washed this out, squeezed it out as much as I can, and I have put the watered down black all around the edge, and I'm just going to give you the final little wipe off. Okay, so you do need to rinse this out. Make sure you're not just wiping like black and brown paint back on. So now it's going to leave all of the black and the brown in all of the cracks and the crevices, and then you're going to see that kind of natural wood tone start coming through, like so. Zoom that out just a tad, that's better. And you'll see that around the edge as well. Now it's starting to look a little bit more like a real slab of wood. Okay, that's a little bit better. You can see it a little bit better now, like so. And the top, yeah, it's not looking too bad, and it's got sort of like one final coat, a little bit of grey over the top to finish it off. So all good so far. Well, my battery doesn't seem to be lasting too long. So anyway, what we've got here is just a rough bit of sponge, and yeah, kind of a grey, a lightish grey. Put a little bit on the lid and just dab it. Don't want it on there thick, you don't want it dripping like a paintbrush. Okay, so we're going to bring that over here. Bit tricky doing this one-handed. So I've had a little tester. Now what we want to do is just lightly go across the surface of all of the sort of exposed areas that would be exposed to the sun, if you know what I mean. And then you want to just rub it on like so. Okay, rub it on. So you literally only want a little bit on there. Let's zoom out a tad, that's better. Okay, so you want to even it out so you don't get any kind of blotches. But yeah, just to give you a little example. Let's go around the other side. Now we're cooking. Right, let's go for it. Let's go for the top, shall we? There we go. Right, so I've gone with a little bit of green, jade green acid stain, which is same company as before, remember? So Multi-Crate Products Limited, jade. It's not very strong, this stuff, so you can just use it a little bit neat. And I've been going over it, as you can see. It's going to add just a little bit of, you know, that kind of green effects that you get sometimes in aged wood that sits out in the garden. So I just went around some of the crevices. Just have to be careful of any drips. So I've gone around the whole thing, put a little bit here and there. Just adds as a nice little bit of contrasting colour. Like so. We'll put some on there and then come along with a brush and dab it in a minute. A tiny little subtle hint of just a slightly brighter colour that's not too layering. It's a little bit very a natural sort of organic looking colour. I mean, these acid stains are really good. Really useful. I mean, all of them do absolutely replicate colours that you would see naturally in nature, in wood and rocks and stone, and not very dear, I don't think. They're about £25 a bottle, and most of the time you dilute it, you don't use it neat. That needs blending in a little bit, really. I'll use a little bit of a cloth on that in a minute, a little damp rag. Don't have to have too much of this stuff, just little bits here and there. Like so. Okay. Yeah, just a little bit is enough. Right, I'm actually going to put a little bit more colour in the top. Now this is not actually coffee, this is kind of a mixture of all sorts. Lots of different like shit that are mixed together, of like leftovers of, yeah, all kinds of bits and bobs. Bronze and copper, coffee. So I've watered it down. I'm just going to take a little bit of a chance here. But I'm going to put this on the top because I think it, just feel it needs a little bit more. Needs a little bit more colour. So let's go and see if we can get it to look a little bit more old aged woody. Okay. So it's not going to affect any of the colour in all of the cracks and whatnot. But we're going to just see what happens really. Around to the edge there. So it adds a little bit of, it's like the battery is on its way again. I'm actually going to charge my phone quickly. and I'll carry on with this. Right, so today's plan is I'm going to put some little feet cut kind of to the shape of the bottom of each foot, and I'm very tempted to just use a router and perhaps route it so that it just sits up, so this sits into it. It might be better, might be stronger to actually fit the little wooden feet around these so they don't come off, because I think they might easily knock off. So that's the plan. That's what I'm going to try today. I think you can see the colour of it a little bit better today. So let's get started. So got some bits of oak here, so I think we'll just go for something not too wide. Yeah, a piece of that. Just go a little bit at a time, so I'll go about 3 or 4 mil. As it's oak, it's quite hard wood. And then see how it goes. Number 1, 2, 3, 4. Cut those out. See if they fit. Holy shit, it's pretty. Surprised. Actually fits. Yeah. Doesn't always go to plan like that. Number 2. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to bond these on there with a slightly flexible, a strong adhesive. So I've countersunk the top, or the underneath for the foot. Okay, I'm gonna, so I'm gonna stick it on there. So it's got to be slightly flexible, this adhesive, because what wood moves and expands, concrete doesn't. So I've just marked that underneath there. So I'm going to get a little masonry bit to go through, and then when I stick these, I'll screw it at the same time and stand it up on its feet so that it can go off. Right, so I'll make that hole a little bit bigger, just a little bit. I'm going to make sure the screw goes through. Right, okay. Right, now I found out that I've got no raw plugs. Zero. I've definitely got some raw plugs somewhere, but can I find them? No, I can't. So rather than cut pieces of wood, what I don't want to do is hammer it in there and it crack the concrete open, because it is still fairly soft. This will continue to dry and get harder over time. So I want to be very mindful of not ruining it. So what I'm going to attempt is coffee stirrers. I'm going to use one and just snap it in half, maybe snap it in half again, and then I'm going to attempt to poke them down. So let's do this one first. I'm going to stick a couple of pieces in there. Okay, a couple of pieces in there, and then just continue to see how many we can get by putting them down in between those two, and you'll find that it will wedge. Just going to tap that in there. So gently tap that in. I think that'll probably be enough. By the time the screw goes in, I mean, it probably would be okay, but I don't want to risk it. Okay. Run a little pilot hole down. So before I put the glue on there, I'm going to make sure that we've got make sure everything's going in the right direction. Perfect. Straight down the middle. One at a time. Now I'm going to make sure all the dust is gone. Probably going to put it straight on. open it, shall we? Or hopefully without breaking anything off of it. Because it is quite heavy. Okay. Now, okay, so far oops. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a gap around them. Now, what could I fill those with? Let me think. What I've been doing is I've just to fill up these gaps. They're just a little bit unsightly. That one's not too bad now. That one is not so bad now. Okay, so I'll show you the worst one, just to give you an idea. Is there's just a few gaps around it. It just doesn't look complete. So what I've decided to do, whether it's going to work or not, I don't know. But trial and error sometimes, is that I'm going to use some CT glue, and I'm sticking loads of it down inside this gap. All right, quite a lot of it, like so. Chuck it in there, like so. A little bit more. Just make sure it's almost about half full. And then I'm going to get a little something or other and use it as a little, and chuck it in there. It's just tricky to get to with your fingers, so yeah, just get as much of that in there as possible and fill it up, and that sand will set off with that CT glue. It's just, you know, one of those things really where you've got to do the best with what you've got, just to fill up that gap so it doesn't stand out as much. So once I've had a little brush up with that, once that glue's gone off, in fact, let's use a bit of the activator quicker, and then afterwards I can just go around and scrape off or sand off sand those off with something afterwards. Yeah, just it looks a little bit more complete, doesn't it? Right. So here is the final product. So I haven't sealed it yet, so I will put a coat of sealer on it. I didn't think I needed to include it in the video, but I will do that a bit later on. But it will pretty much look the same as this. So I hope you've enjoyed the video, guys, and look forward to seeing you on the next one. So remember to subscribe to the channel, and I think you then get notified for when I put something else on. Cheers.